TV7 Israel News is made possible thanks to your generous donations.
Shalom ve'erev tov, good evening. Welcome to our daily TV7 Israel News Bulletin, broadcast from Jerusalem. U.S. Presidential Envoy Jared Kushner asserts that Hamas's disarmament process would start within 30 days. Israel allegedly strikes a Syrian Air Force base some 60 kilometers from Turkey's border. And President Donald Trump re-emphasizes his commitment to ensure Iran does not achieve nuclear weapon capabilities. U.S. Presidential Envoy Jared Kushner concluded his visit to Jerusalem with reported progress on narrowing the gaps vis-a-vis a 15-point roadmap aimed at ending Hamas's rule of the Gaza Strip, withdrawing IDF forces from the enclave, and implementing an ambitious reconstruction plan for the devastated territory. Kushner, who is President Donald Trump's son-in-law, initially met with Israeli President Yitzhak Herzog, after which he had held a meeting with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his team for over 2 hours, which during an exclusive interview with Fox News Channel's chief foreign correspondent Trey Yingst expressed a sense of positivity.
I think today we had a very good meeting. We were there for almost 4 hours with him and his team going through all the different details. I think there were some valid concerns that they raised that we were able to address, and we were able to go through some of the misunderstandings and misinformation that's been out about it as well. I mean, certain things like we're very committed to the fact that we have a plan to rebuild Gaza, but we will not allow Gaza to be rebuilt until the demilitarization occurs. Nobody wants to put more money into a place that's gone on for so long until if it's just going to be taken over by terrorists or blown up again. We're also not going to restrict Israel's right to defend itself if there are any imminent threats, and so we had to clarify what that means. We could be seeing progress, in as much as in as little as 30 days, hopefully on starting to take some of the weapons out, and hopefully filling in some of the tunnels as well in the next 60 to 90 days as well. So progress could come quite soon, but we do need cooperation from both sides, and we're going to hopefully get through.
It is important to know that during the meeting it was agreed to establish 2 working groups, to include one on disarmament and demilitarization of Gaza, which both Israel and the Board of Peace are determined should be prompt and completed before any reconstruction happens in Gaza. A second working group will focus on sanitation, clean water, and other public health issues for the people of Gaza, and which also impact the people of Israel. Separately, it has been agreed that Hamas's weapons will not be stored in warehouses. Rather, the U.S. military will receive the terror group's weapons and oversee their destruction, a significant point of concern that has effectively been resolved. Moreover, the IDF will not withdraw until after all of the weapons are verifiably destroyed.
For Israel, we think this is a win-win situation because if Hamas actually gives over the weapons and the tunnels, willingly over the next 60 to 90 days, that obviously would be the elimination of a huge security threat for Israel, almost an unthinkable achievement. And if they don't follow through now on their commitment, everyone will see that they're not genuine about peace, and then Israel will have a lot more support from the U.S. and others to go and finish the job.
It is worth noting, according to separate reports, that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Presidential Envoy Jared Kushner did not reach an understanding on targeted eliminations, while the Israeli leader emphasized that Israel would continue to hunt those who were directly responsible for the October 7th massacre. Kushner reportedly voiced his objections. Meanwhile, in northwestern Syria, unidentified aircraft launched 4 aerial strikes on the Syrian Abu Duhur air base, which is located roughly 60 kilometers or approximately 37 miles from the border with Turkey. According to reports, the strikes, which were attributed to Israel, destroyed 2 sections of a runway and aircraft hangars. With that being said, no injuries were reported. It is worth pointing out that in recent days, Turkish military officials visited the site alongside Syrian officers amid efforts to rehabilitate the airbase. Meanwhile, U.S. Ambassador to Turkey Tom Barrack, who also serves as a special presidential envoy to both Syria and Iraq, essentially condemned Israel for the attack. He wrote in a statement on his X account, quote, "We are deeply concerned that the confirmed Israeli strikes on Abu Duhur airbase constitute an unnecessary escalation that does not advance regional stability." Ambassador Barrack, who is regarded as the leading Trump administration proponent of rehabilitating Syria under a regime of former al-Qaeda and Islamic State officials, continued by claiming that the al-Shara government has neither adopted a predatory posture nor maintained proxy forces. According to Barrack, Damascus has in fact repeatedly indicated a preference for de-escalation with Israel, and emphasized further that the United States has in the past and will continue in the future to host discussions to encourage diplomatic cadence over kinetic frustration for both nations. It is interesting to note, in contrast to Ambassador Barrack's stated claims, the regime's security forces have been proactively and in a pace that is regarded as unprecedented worked to rebuild a credible military force of hundreds of thousands of troops, with a large section of them openly identified as holding jihadist ideology, with regular calls to launch a conquest to occupy Jerusalem and the murder of Jews. The latest such incident was captured this weekend.
Gaza is the banner. Bombing and destruction. Day and night, I'm coming for you, O Jews. I'm coming for you from the mountain of fire. I'll make ammunition from my blood, and make rivers from your blood. Allah is great. Allah is great. Allah is great.
Turning to Washington, where U.S. President Donald Trump was asked about remarks he had made, threatening to strike the Sultanate of Oman if it would move to accommodate Iran's demand to essentially toll commercial shipping transiting the Strait of Hormuz.
No, I don't think they'd behave very well, but we'd handle them very easily, just like we do other things.
President Trump was further asked about his decision to order the Pentagon to cut back military exercises with South Korea. The American leader highlighted Seoul's refusal to help the United States vis-a-vis the Islamic Republic of Iran.
When I called recently the president of South Korea, who I think he's very nice actually, but I called him, I said, would you like to give us a little hand? We don't need help with Iran, but if you'd like, give us a hand with Iran. He said, no thanks. And I said, wait a minute, we have 39,000 soldiers over there guarding you from Kim Jong-un, your next door neighbor, and you're not going to help us on a very easy military operation in Iran? That's strange. No, we'd rather not get involved. I say, well, why are we involved in helping you? So, and I want to help them, but you know, when you ask somebody, would you like to give us a hand, and they say, no thanks, and then we're guarding them from a country and paying ourselves billions of dollars, it's costing us billions and billions of dollars to protect not only them, but other countries. Look at NATO. We spend hundreds of billions of dollars protecting Europe from Russia. Hundreds of billions, mostly from Russia, but from other things too. And then they say, well, they don't want to get involved with guarding the Strait, where they get most of their oil. They get 50% of their oil, and they don't want to get involved. Why are we doing it? So all I want is fairness. We can't go around and protect all of these countries, especially when they're not there to help us.
President Trump went on to re-emphasize America's naval dominance in the Strait of Hormuz and the adjacent waterways, which effectively allows the United States to choke the Iranian economy. Following the expiration of the 60-day ceasefire, during the course of which the Iranians had committed to negotiate with the United States in good faith, President Trump essentially noted that the Iranians are unwilling to make any acceptable overtures in relation to their aspirations to achieve nuclear weapon capabilities.
Well, they want to make a deal, but they're not going to make the kind of a deal that I feel is necessary. Look, we're in there for one reason. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. You understand that? Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon, and they won't have a nuclear weapon. And right now, them building one after what we did previously with the B-2 bombers, going to be a long time behalf. But Iran cannot have. It's very simple. They can't have a nuclear weapon.
Meanwhile, in Tehran, Iranian Parliament Speaker Mohammad Baghir Kalibov insisted that the United States and Israel have been defeated, claiming, in stark contrast from reality on the ground, that none of their objectives had been achieved. Subsequently, while reading a statement to the press, the Iranian Parliament Speaker proclaimed that the Ayatollah regime would not agree to open the Strait of Hormuz until the United States effectively accepts defeat.
And let me make it clear, until America implements its commitments under the Memorandum of Understanding, including lifting the blockade on the release of frozen assets, lifting the oil sanctions, ending threats and military operations on all fronts, and other conditions that America has agreed to under the understanding, the Strait will not be reopened.
Thank you for watching TV7 Israel News, which is made possible by the generosity of our viewers. If you're blessed by our productions and would like to help support TV7 Israel, which operates as a non-profit, you can donate via our website at www.tv7israelnews.com. Please keep praying for the peace of Jerusalem and salvation of Israel. Jonathan Nelson wishing you an Erev Mevorach. God willing, until our next update, Shalom from Jerusalem.